Hello everyone and welcome to round 2 of the 2019.1 South African simGP series at Silverstone, and looking forward to a good race this evening. Live streaming of course from the ATK Arena in Cape Town, and let's see how we get on. We've got Timothy Haynes currently on a flying lap, and let's see how he gets on. Timothy Haynes currently in second position for Ghostworks, but currently in provisional pole position is Nick Hodgson, who is currently in the pits getting ready for another run. And we've got Leslie Oliphant, who was quickest throughout the weekend's hot lap qualifying division sessions, and he's currently in third position with a 35.034, so 0.3 of a second off Timothy Haynes in second. Just a tenth, another tenth behind Nick Hodgson on provisional pole position. And Leslie Oliphant now getting ready for yet another flying lap. Of course, driving for secured RPM. And the number 187 entry. Let's go on board with Leslie Oliphant now as we down the main straight, turn 1, of course. Abby, he's lost control of the car and off he goes. So trying very hard at this early stage. And I'm also joined this evening by the owner of the ATK Arena, and that is Warren Barkhuizen. Welcome, Warren.
Thank you very much. It's my first time commentating on anything, actually, so hopefully I don't make too much of a poople of myself.
Not a problem. I make a poople of myself every week, sometimes twice a week. So yeah, that won't be a problem.
I might start doing this on a more regular basis. I had my first taste of it when Bash was giving me a tour around Silverstone. I didn't make the first corner either, so it's okay.
And we're currently watching Alaric Ensslin of Valente Racing, currently in 5th position with a 35.421, just 2/100ths of a second off Bongi Mabida. So very tight battle there for 4th position. But it is Timothy Haynes currently in second. He's trying to get that 1/10 of a second to Nick Hodgson. And Warren, you'll notice the ATK branding on the side of their car.
Yes, it's looking great, but as you looked away, he ran off a bit. So we got some good coverage there, I suppose. I did notice it. It looks good. The orange is a bit McLaren-esque, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Is that the go faster colors?
Yeah. So Timothy Haynes is on yet another run. Let's go on board with Timothy Haynes. We've just gone through turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3, and then through turn 4 now onto the Brooklyn Straight towards turn 6. Under the bridge we go, of course. Let's see what Timothy Haynes can produce now, as he's up on his best delta time, a 10th of a second up, and challenging Nick Hodgson for pole position. Around Luffield we go now. Very important to get good throttle controller there for a good drag down the back straight through Wood Coat towards Cops Corner now, turn 9, and a fast right-hander now. And the famous section now, Maggots and Beckett's coming up and into Chapel. And riding the curbs nicely is Timothy Haynes. Want to be patient here through this corner, and a good run down Hanger Straight towards Stowe Corner. Now there is a white line exception on the outside of the track where the drivers can run wide, so you can expect the drivers trying to take full advantage of that. Although Timothy Haynes does not do that, interesting enough. That's his line through there. And he completes the lap now. And very difficult through this section too. And Timothy Haynes will not go to pole position, but he does improve ever so slightly. Nick Hodgson's also improved. And Warren, for our viewers, what is the ATK Arena?
It is the most over-the-top version of any kind of gaming arena that we would ever have hoped to build. It was an idea that we had that there was talent in Africa, and the talent couldn't necessarily afford certain types of computers, and we hoped to bring that to everybody. And that's everybody from PC gamers and normal kind of first-person shooters, and it's sim racing as well. So I do enjoy a bit of sim racing. Obviously, Ghostworks, one of the first people I phoned was in fact Basheer. I did some light internet stalking and I found him at work, and I called him directly one morning, and I was pretty sure he wasn't going to take my call because he would have thought I was mad. But he did. I met him in EGE a week or two later. We sat down and had a good chat. And you know, I hadn't realized how much had already been invested in something like your project here. I know that things that have been happening overseas, and that was normal, something that was becoming more accepted as a thing to do, or a profession for some people. And it was great to see that you had a series, and it had been running for a number of years. I'd obviously been out of it. I used to be in the fund management game, and that's how I knew Basheer. I knew IDS, San, and that's where he was working. So I took a chance. I'd literally been at his office a couple of weeks before for a separate meeting on something else. So yeah, watching these guys, and you don't always know where to find it. You don't always know that there's a proper talent out there, and Basheer and the whole Ghostworks team. I mean, they're properly talented. I mean, it's not. This isn't easy. I did a few laps in this earlier, and I think I spent most of the time in the gravel. It was also because Basheer was shouting at me that I could go flat through the corner, which I clearly couldn't, and I blame my lack of skill. But yeah, it's what we hope to do is further the development of sim racing to actual race cars. There's a proper crossover, we think, from, and not we think, it's been proven, from sim racing to actual racing. Once you get over the fear factor and fitness and that type of thing, and if you fit certain criteria, you can apply the same skills that you learned in a set of courses to a real car.
Yeah, of course, it's one of the only esports where that really translates. When you look at your FIFAs and whatnot, it's not the same as kicking a ball and using a controller. It's a completely different discipline.
Great. Yeah. But at the same time, it's also incredibly difficult to get into properly. You do need the correct kit. You do need to be. It's where it makes a massive difference. Like if you're using. Quade Claessen's being the exception, since he's Mr. Mouse and Keyboard, which is ridiculous to watch. But everybody else, I mean, we all need proper force feedback. We need a G920 minimum, and even that's like, okay, it's bulletproof, but it's not the same as a Fanatec setup or a direct drive setup that some of these guys have. In a space like ours, a G920 is fine for most people to cut their teeth, I suppose. When you take a look at putting Fanatec on every rig, as you probably know, it's not the most robust. You need to treat it very carefully. It is a precision instrument in many ways, and to let the kind of general public yank on it and throw it on, it's not always the best. We'll break it out for people who can show that they have some skill and some finesse. But for the most part, we've got 8 G920s sitting in front of us here. and that's much better than most people would have used. It's 1080 Ti. You got proper detail. So that is something where I think we can make a big difference. We can find racing drivers, or we can find potential racing drivers through a program like ours. And we've got a few of these things coming up.
Okay, we are about to wrap up qualifying. We've got running into overtime now as the drivers complete the final laps. And we've got Nick Hodgson still on provisional pole position. Wow, I wouldn't think that Hodgson had the pace looking at his laps throughout the weekend, but he's come up with something special this evening, and it's earned him pole position for round 2 of the championship. We had Jan Spammers, in fact, leave the serve, so hopefully we can get him back before the race starts. But until then, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Silverstone. We're about to get the pace lap underway. And it is Nick Hodgson starting from pole position ahead of Timothy Haynes. This is going to be an interesting start. As the field all gets away, let's see if Jan Spammers has rejoined the server in time. Let's have a look and see with the when the timing board comes up. And Nick Hodgson has got the field underway. We've got 18 runners this evening. 2 unfortunately haven't made this evening's race for whatever reason. Hodgson nice and calm, he's leading the field around. Hodgson not weaving side to side as much as Timothy Haynes. He's in second position. So perhaps Hodgson just using a different strategy to get those tyres and brakes warmed up.
Effectively, he's acting as safety car, right? So this is for the people that
yes, effectively.
are new to this or they haven't watched it. I mean, you would generally start this and do a normal kind of F1 start.
Yeah. We do this because we found that it was at the start it's very chaotic going to turn 1. With all the cars around you at high speed, and rather just sort of break up the field a bit to get the race underway, and it's worked really well. And yeah, so all the cars are sort of limited to 200 kilometers an hour, not automatically limited. They need to adhere to a speed limit, otherwise they'll be penalized after the race. Yeah.
Okay, and that penalize or the penalty is that number of seconds? Do they have to? Is it way after the race, or you know, how long do you have to make that decision?
Yes, so I will have a look at the replay after the race, and then I will work out how much time to simulate a drive-through penalty through the pit lane, and then that will be added to the race results at the end. So a drive-through penalty is sort of the standard penalty for anything that's done wrong.
Okay, so they're coming through Stowe here. Is this up to Vale?
Yeah.
Where's generally considered the place that he's going to?
He is going to start from the second last corner, so that's just leaving
Club.
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 No, beg your pardon, Vale. It should be Vale.
Vale into Club.
Yeah.
So off
we go. So the race has started. Off goes Nick Hodgson's got a good start. Timothy Haynes sort of under pressure from Leslie Oliphant, but not really as they go through turn 1. Very high speed corner there. We've got some action in the background there as Mabida has not lost the position to Sterner, but Sterner finding it difficult. Oh, lunge up the inside is Insolent, goes for it. He's taken position for the moment, but no, Sterner fights back side by side now. And the drivers will be battling to get the power down with cold tires. Oh, a bit of cotton. Oh, someone's lost to these Claessens. Quake Claessens, the mouse and keyboard warrior, and it's caused absolute chaos, and it's caught unfortunately an ATK car as well. So drama here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, they are affected by that. And
this reminds me of Spa. There was a big pile up in Spa, and was it 97?
Yes. There's been a couple of pile-ups at Spa throughout the years, but that's noteworthy, of course.
That was the big one. That was Jordan did quite well out of that.
Absolutely, and as well, we were seeing what is happening there. We've seen Timothy Haynes move to the front with a move around the outside with Nick Hodgson. So Ghostworks now leading this race. In case the dodge against the dodging towers entry of Nick Hodgson. Leslie Oliphant now moving up as well. He's past Bongi Mabida in 4th position. So the sister RPM Sim Racing team car swapping position there. I'm not sure if there was a team order, but anyway, it's happened. And Leslie Oliphant now has been let loose to go after Hodgson and Haynes and see what it can do. And of course, this is a long race, 55 laps, almost 90 minutes.
I mean, that is, having done a couple of these things, I can tell you, you think it's a computer game, but these guys are fighting proper force feedback, and it's hard work. A fan, I think, is an important piece of equipment to have in your high-tech sim rig, just to keep you cool, right?
Yeah. And you could simulate an aircon as well in the car.
These guys, these ones are built in aircon.
Yeah. Not these cars specifically, but the GT cars do, definitely.
So, in terms of equipment that these guys use, I know we spoke a little bit about guys like Quaid. He uses a keyboard and mouse. In fact, I've got a video of it I'll find somewhere. The rest of the guys, do you have any idea what they use? I mean, who uses VR? Who uses a triple screen setup?
As far as I know, there's not many cars, drivers that use VR. Basheer Jadwat is one of them. He's not racing this evening, of course. Another driver by the name of JP as well. He also uses VR. Maybe 1 or 2 others. But predominantly it's still the traditional screen that is used. Then equipment-wise, we got Sterner there going off.
Creepers.
But he's kept it together. I don't know how on earth he did that, but he has.
Is that a brake balance issue? I mean, he speared quite heavily off to the right for no good reason.
Yeah, that looks like it could be FPS issues or something like that. That looked really random down the straight, just falling off the circuit like that. But his ping seems to be fine, so all's well so far. And we've got someone off. Who's that? Insolent. He's had an off at the last corner. And the Volante car. So he drops down to 9th position. There's Alaric Insolent. Let's go back to the front. Let's go Timothy Haynes is leading by 1.2 seconds now ahead of Nick Hodgson. And Mabida has got past Oliphant again. So those 2 drivers swapping position.
On average, I mean, how many people do you see come and go from the series? I mean, obviously, it's different. It's harder to get into something like this. Is there a certain stickiness to the series that you find people are in it for 2 or 3 or 4 years, or is it something that come and go? I mean, it's obviously very difficult. Everybody thinks they can sim race. Everybody thinks it's an easy thing. I can drive on the road. I'm an amazing driver, but when you get into this, it's a different kettle of fish altogether.
Yeah, so I would say we have a core sort of base group of drivers that they've stuck with SimRace SA for many years now. SimRace SA has been going for, I think, almost 8 years now. And we've seen quite strong growth last year and this year. We've gone from sort of 60 drivers to over 90 for the season. But yes, of course, I mean, you have a massive influx of drivers once the season starts, and then it starts peeling off. We can run up to sort of 3 divisions starting off the season, and then it will, by the end of the season, could drop down to 1 or 2 divisions. That's sort of the normal as it happens. But yeah, having said that, the cars are pretty difficult to drive this season, and I think that's proving a big challenge. But they're doing well.
These are all, this is their own choice. They voted on this. Do they have themselves to blame, or is it? How much did you weigh in and say, you guys are going to have the hardest time ever?
I do listen to the community and suggestions before a season starts. And then I have a look at the cars available to me, of course, and yeah, perhaps the excitement of a new mod coming out, and perhaps not fully understand how difficult it is to drive at a competitive level can catch people out at stages. Yeah, so
there's no TC allowed, there's no stability, there's no ABS. This is raw. It's a fairly new mod. I mean, it's not more than 3 months old, is it? Or is it more or less?
I think it did come out towards the end of last year.
Okay. And I saw Jimmy Broadbent. He did a couple of things with this. I mean, this is kind of old hardcore V10 stuff, right? I mean, there was no TC in these days.
Yes, correct. So these cars are based on a 2000 spec Formula 1 car, and we do run the GT3 series, which is sort of our flagship championship that has traction control and stability control. Sorry, not stability control, ABS. And then we saw a need coming through for something a bit more hardcore, a bit more raw, as you say, something that the drivers have to challenge themselves to get on top of. And so the GP series was born. Very quick cars, of course, high downforce, just as a Formula car is, of course. And yeah, so GP series really took off for the Formula 2 car last season. I did DRS, very quick V8, powerful V8 motor, also no traction control, no ABS. The DRS rules in a set of course are very hard to implement.
Yes, I remember Bash had an issue with that last year, and he accidentally pressed a button on his fancy Fanatec and got himself a drive-through or something along those lines, if I'm not mistaken. That car, that Formula, essentially the F2, the RSS Formula 2, was impossible to drive. Even the really good guys would tell you that. I mean, I'm a bit of a potato as I am in games like Apex, but still, I can tell you that it's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. While we watch Leslie Oliphant now under pressure from Synergy Racing's Matthew Boy now. This is the battle for 4th position. And just 0.6 of a second in it, so we could be in for a battle very shortly. And a big shout out to our YouTube live viewers. Welcome everybody. Also everyone watching from the ATK Shack as well. It's great to see. And so Boy now sort of falling off the back of Oliphant now as Oliphant starts to put the hammer down now. And long race of 55 laps, and of course everybody must do at least one pit stop. So there is an element of strategy at play. The question is when to do that pit stop.
Maybe for the people that haven't watched this before, in terms of the pit stops, if we've watched Formula 1, you have to use 2 different types of tires. You have to not fuel. Is there refueling options? Or do you get to repair your car? What are they? Maybe run us through it.
Yeah, so obviously the question is when to do your pit stop. The drivers can choose between softs, mediums and hards. And they can refuel during a pit stop. So it's sort of very basic rules, not as complicated as Formula 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of tires, do you have to use 2 different types, or you stick to one?
No, you can use whatever you like. There's no specific rule for that.
Okay, so it's just a matter of enforcement and all the rest of it all. of course, you don't have a team manager or a race engineer to help you, so you're kind of doing it by yourself.
Yes, there's also a virtual race engineer that there's an app that you can install into Assetto Corsa called Crew Chief, and the virtual assistant can advise you as to what you should be doing throughout the race.
Okay.
So that's also help, yeah. We want to develop this, of course, to have sort of full-on teams get involved with a race engineer, with a strategist. That's the way I would like to see it going forward eventually. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, it's in the old days we used to have F1 team manager as a game, and you would run through it, right? And that would be your thing, if that you got your kicks through strategy.
We're watching our race leader Timothy Haynes, and he's pulled about a 2.7 second lead ahead of Hodgson. Now Hodgson now coming under pressure from RPM's Bongi Mabida. So Mabida showing some good pace now as we start to approach lap 10 of the race. We've got a change in position as Enston, I think, has had an off, and Pinar has slipped through to 11th position. So perhaps Enston just battling a bit of the consistency this evening, but a very quick sim race in his own right.
The top three are just walking away from everybody else. I mean, that's not field spread. That's three people in the front and the rest of them bunched up behind each other. Is it really fun holding them up?
Olifants could be holding them ever so slightly. Perhaps dirty air coming to play off the back of the cars is hurting the front tires of the cars behind. Mm-hmm. And perhaps the drivers are just sort of looking after the tires as they decide what they're going to do about Olifant.
This is like the settling in phase on a Sunday afternoon, where they talk about between pit stops when we all go and grab a beer and lie down.
You could say that. Yeah. The GP series doesn't create the most closest racing, I'll admit that. The closest racing sort of is in the GT series. That's where you'll find the cars much closer together for much longer.
In terms of the GT series, I mean, we obviously have an interest in that for reasons we'll announce later, and that we discussed prior to this. But what's the next GT race that's going to run through? I mean, what's coming up?
We've had the first round of the GT series, of course, at Bathurst. That was very exciting. Of course, we all know about the Bathurst 12-hour every year, the real world race, and our race was very exciting as well. And the second round will be at Brands Hatch, which should provide some fireworks as the drivers try and navigate themselves around that tight and twisty circuit. We're on board now with Matthew Boyd chasing down Olifant. Let's see how they get on through Stoke Corner. And, Boy, very conservative through Stoke. But keeping on terms of Olifant for the moment. See, Olifant starting to move around now on the RPM car. So it's tyre wear coming to play already on lap 10 of 55. And we've got a question from the YouTube live chat. Is the guy that caused that big crash going to get a penalty? That comes from Cameron. Cameron, yes, I will look at that after the race. And see what was the cause of that incident, and yes, could very well likely produce a penalty for that driver.
There was around arena coming to Brooklyn, so I'd say this was a big kind of oversteering moment, which is normal with this car in the default setup, I suppose. It was a bit Grosjeanish. He went off and came back on again, didn't he?
That's right. We've got a battle developing here between Raymond Duggan and Lawrence Sterner for 6th position. They're just separated by 0.3 of a second now. Bit of movement there for Duggan at the rear, and Sterner is looking to take advantage of that. Let's have a look from Sterner past. Sterner, has he passed? Yes, he's passed him. Into Maggots. He's pulled the move. Unfortunately, we lost Alaric Insolent and Mark Hennebury, so 2 retirements this evening already. So Sterner now up into 6th position as Raymond Duggan now looking to come back at him. But someone off now. Who's that? That is Matthew Boy, who's had an off, yes, in the Synergy Racing entry. But he will get going again. So a difficult race here for Synergy Racing this evening. Matthew Boy, of course, dropped down to 7th, and Quake Claasen's at the back, 6 laps down. It is not where he wants to be.
For the record, I didn't call Quake Claasen's Romain Grosjean.
Yeah.
I was just saying. He had a slight off that looked a bit Grosjean-esque.
Yeah, he did a Grosjean.
He did, yeah, in Spain. I haven't seen the Melbourne track in here. It's not a default, is it? It's not a. I haven't even seen the mod, to be honest.
No, it's not a default track. There might be a mod available. We'll have to have a look.
It must be, yeah.
Could be.
I mean, that's all starting this weekend. That's all very exciting.
Absolutely, and I'm intrigued as to what's going to happen with Ferrari, with Leclerc and Vettel in the team. It's going to be fascinating to see what happens there.
Yeah, I mean, Leclerc's he's a proper challenge, and Vettel's kind of. He made a lot of mistakes last year. Let's start with, I guess, when he was leading the German Grand Prix, and he chucked himself off in the rain for no good reason.
As we rejoin at Silverstone, and it's Mabida. He's making inroads on Hodgson. Perhaps just sizing him up as to when he's going to make that move. Perhaps it'll come in the pit stops.
Background on these guys like Mabida. Mabida was 911. It came 911 last year.
Yes, so Boggy Mabida is backed by Netk 911. And I believe he's a paramedic, if I'm not mistaken. And he has recently joined forces with the RPM sim racing team. And RPM have been very successful throughout the years. And it's great to see him in a top team. And I think they are imparting a lot of knowledge between themselves, and certainly have come up through the ranks as well. So we've got drivers racing from all over the country this season. We've got drivers from Cape Town, from Johannesburg, from Pretoria, from Bloemfontein, from Durban, from all over the place, and it's great to see everybody able to race together from such a long distance.
We restricted to only SA-based people. I mean, obviously you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. So anybody doesn't need to be local. You don't need to be a local racing driver to race. Up until recently, we had a driver from Madagascar racing, and another driver from Zimbabwe, and then a couple of drivers from the UK as well joined us for a while, and that was absolutely fantastic. And it's quite interesting to see the drivers, especially coming overseas. They might think they might have an easier time of it racing in the South African League, but they generally have a hard time of it. We tend to hold our own down here. So.
Yeah, I mean, we saw last year
So we've got okay, we're back to the front now. Timothy Haynes still leading by 4 seconds. Okay. But yeah. And Hodgson's moved away from Abida now. That's a 2-second gap between the two. And interesting enough, Abida is now into the pit lane. So the first of our runners to dive into the pits. And let's see what if Hodgson's going to respond and perhaps pit this lap to cover the undercut from Abida. Or perhaps he feels he has the pace to carry on.
Something like this, do you, I mean, one pit stop is required, and he's 15 laps in, you can't do another. He's going to have to pit again if this is a tyre-based thing, right? Do you have an accelerated tyre wear rate in this, or is it just something that, you know, maybe he feels comfortable to be able to?
Yeah, it is probably his strategy to do this. Perhaps he's going for a 2 or 3 stop strategy. We've seen a 3 stop strategy, I think, in round 1. That sort of worked very well. But they have to do one mandatory pit stop, but they can do a second or third pit stop or whatever they like. But as long as they do one, it's not a problem.
Yeah. What's your calculated rate for your time in the pits, or to do a stop? Is it kind of the 20-second-ish?
I think at Silverstone you're looking about the mid 30 seconds.
Okay.
To give you an idea. And D Azevedo has got Pina for 9th position. It's an interesting battle here developing. Holden has gone to the pits for Redline Racing from 12th. Jan Spammers has passed Governor for 13th. So a couple of moves happening on lap 16. They wind themselves through Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. And Diaz Azevedo is an interesting entry this season. His first ever season, I think, sim racing, and he's doing very well currently in 9th position. As we've had our 3rd retirement now, that is Edrin Govender. So rate of attrition is quite high here at Silverstone. But yeah, Ryan De Azevedo doing very well. Top 9 for him at the moment as he looks to go after Valente Races Rudy Murray in 8th position. Of course, we've got this battle for 2nd position. Mabida, of course, pitting earlier, and now he's a good 28 seconds behind Hodgson. So we're looking about a 30-second wait in the pits for a stop, it looks like. And when is Hodgson going to do his pit stop? That is the question. But I've got a feeling Hodgson might go to the middle of the race before he comes in.
Has Mabida picked up his pace significantly since he's stopped? I mean, he's obviously probably on his outlap now.
He's currently 7/10s down in his best delta, so he looks to be taking it easy on the tyre for the moment. He may up the pace later on.
Has Hans had an issue here? I mean, there was a much bigger gap there before on Hans. Between Hans and Hodgson.
Yeah, the gap has come down, hasn't it? Now down to 1.7 seconds. It was 4 seconds just sort of 4 laps ago.
Yeah.
So we've got a fight for the lead here. It's Ghostworks versus Dodging Towers.
He must have had an off at some point, or either that or Hodgson made a big cut, which is probably unlikely, right? So, in terms of the penalties, how does it work? I mean, does this thing pick it up? Does it pick it up properly? I mean, if we do hot laps in Assetto Corsa, you pick them up, we would have been notified, I suppose.
Yes, yeah. So they will get a sort of a cut warning
Okay.
And that's all picked up. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, he's dropped 2/10. He's off. Is he? That wasn't him. That was somebody getting into the millies to get out of the way.
Was Quake Larson's down in 16th and last, unfortunately, just getting out the way. Being very generous, maybe perhaps too generous.
Very generous.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's got tyre issues. Okay, here we go.
Here comes our race leader Haynes into the pits.
He must have had an issue. I mean, to drop 4 seconds over that kind of period of time.
Yes, I said, of course, it does simulate flat spot tyres, of course, as well, so that can affect your grip through the corners. So perhaps that's exactly what's happened, and he's coming now to put in a fresh set. And Hodgson now will be pushing like crazy to get the overcut done on Haynes. So the overcut is when you let your opponent pit first, and then you run a bit longer, hopefully with better pace, lap time. And yeah, so when you come into your pit stop, you come out ahead of the driver you're fighting with. And this is exactly what Hodgson is trying to do. Just sort of 9/10 of a second down his best delta time. They're still pretty good on lap 18.
He had a couple of moments there. I mean, coming in out of Brooklands at the end, he got a bit oversteer. So maybe he's suffering. I mean, obviously there's this whole, you end up pushing harder than you should or overdriving it like I do. Especially when you know the pressure's on. I mean, where's he sitting now? 3/10.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's made up 6/10. I mean, that's significant. Even given his a couple of errors. Does this mean he's coming in?
Could be.
And take a bet?
No.
50 bucks says he's coming in.
I don't think he's coming in. I think he's coming in towards the middle of the race. I think he's playing the long game.
Should have taken the bet.
I'll take it now.
It's too late. You had one option there.
Okay, too late. You did call the pit bet after you crossed the pit lane entry though, but that's cool. We can do this again later.
I can. Next time I'll look at the screen properly. You're very kind.
Now, Bongi Mabida was 28 seconds behind Haynes after before Haynes did his pit stop, and now he finds himself just 20 seconds behind Hodgson. So perhaps Bongi Mabida is onto something here. And he's closing the gap all the time to race to Hodgson, and perhaps Hodgson has opted for the wrong strategy this time round and going a bit too long for his own good. Mabida has obviously picked up something in the data and has noticed how his tyres are wearing. And he's closing the gap to Hodgson all the time. We've got Rudy Murray for Volante Racing and Matthew Boy for Synergy Racing, both in the pits. They are currently in 8th and 9th position. Let's see where they rejoin. They'll probably rejoin ahead of Sparks, who's a minute and a half behind them.
Fortunately, in this game, or simulator, you can't crash into each other in the pits, can you?
No, you can't. Not in the Assetto Corsa. In a simulator like R-Factor 2, I learned the hard way. It was my first big international race, and I drove into someone in the pit lane because I was used to ghosting through the cars, and I was caught by
you forgot which game you were in.
Exactly, yeah. But I had never done it before, so I was a real rookie then. And
was it a proper race?
Yes, it was. It was international.
Were you slightly embarrassed?
I was, especially after I hit the driver again in the third time. And it was caught up in the live stream with the commentator saying, "What are you doing?" So that wasn't great. But it's funny now.
Yeah. Look, time heals all wounds.
So we have a change for lead now. Mabida is in the front. So he's outfoxed both Haynes and Hodgson on lap 20 of 55.
Has he stopped yet?
He has stopped once already. So it looks like the 2 double or triple stint is the way to go in this race.
It's Ross Braun Engineering right there.
As we have Stoner, Duggan and Di Azevedo into the pits from 5th, 6th and 7th position. But at the moment it's going all Bongi Mabita's way. It's interesting to see now if Timothy Haynes from second, just 8 seconds behind, can catch up to Mabita now because of Haynes is on fresher tyres now. So it's someone off there. Who is there? It's Mabita. Mabita is off race leader, and here comes Haynes to pick up the pieces.
Don't get in the way. Oh.
Yeah, and Hodgson too. Oh, it's another contact.
Yeah, get in the way.
So there was a dangerous rejoin.
Yeah.
So that might be looked after the race. Looked at after the race. So Mabita has in fact left the server as well. So that's the end of his fight this evening, and our 4th retirement.
Okay.
So I think that's fair enough.
Look, yeah. You've got to ask. It's
of course.
Tell me about when you crash, when you have a big off like that. Damage is not at 100%. It's 75.
75. Yeah.
Would you have to drive all the way back? Would you have to, or can you reset back to the pits? What's the process?
It would be better to try and get back to the pits, because if you had to escape the pits, you would lose a lap. That's the, sort of the penalty for doing so. So you'd often find drivers trying to get back if they can. The Mabita might have suffered so much damage, it probably looked at his steering, it's bent all over the place, and perhaps he couldn't get it back safely. So with the other drivers in mind.
Okay. I mean, they're not even halfway through yet. Is that always a good idea? I mean, look at Fernando Alonso last year in Azerbaijan. His car is undrivable. He had no tires on the one side. He literally crashed into the barriers on the way into the pits. He still did okay. Where did he finish it? In the points? I'm not comparing this. I'm not saying that it was a bad idea. I'm just sharing anecdotes.
Yeah, and as we say, Hodgson now is in the pits from 2nd position. So this is his 2nd stop so early on. And I'm not quite sure why he would pit so quickly again. Anyway, through goes Reggie Oliphant now into 2nd. Oliphant now 23 seconds behind race leader Haynes. And we'll just keep a look on that gap to see if it's coming down or going up. Hodgson has rejoined in 3rd position.
Is that a flat spot issue, do you think?
It could be.
I mean, he didn't make contact with Bongi.
Yes, it could be damage, of course. Yeah.
He came off, I mean, he didn't spear off. There was a bit of contact, but he seemed to go okay. But as you say, to what level can you repair your car in a pit situation? I mean, is there a limit?
You can. There is a limit, but there's quite a bit of significant damage you can do before you it cannot be repaired.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they say, based on the point in the car, it's something more realistic. You know, you see wings go and they'll just replace the wings, wishbones go. So sorry.
Yeah, so unfortunately you only notice that they haven't repaired it when you've left the pit. So often some drivers get a big surprise, and yeah, and then you might find a retirement shortly after a pit stop. Hodgson now 40 seconds behind Oliphant. Timothy Haynes now has put a lap on who's behind him. That is Stephen Sparks for Redline Racing. So Stephen just making way, respecting those blue flags.
I must say, I did a race, and I'm not sure why I was involved in the race, but I was in there, and I couldn't see the blue flags. There was something, you know, there was something in the way, and I made a complete, I can't say the word, but I made a not so nice person of myself because I didn't see the blue flags. I didn't know who was behind me. So when I saw Quaid chuck himself into the millies there, I thought that was quite refreshing. I think that's how I'm going to try that next time, or not get lapped. It's one of the two. Yeah.
So sometimes in a set of courses, the blue flags, I think, are on the top left, and then not often you pick that up while you're concentrating on driving. But there is an app for Assetto Corsa that you can use to actually move that flag to a better area, so perhaps where you can see it easier.
I'll put it in the middle next time.
There we go. Watching Stephen Sparks now, currently in 10th position for Redline Racing. And he is a part of a father-son effort at simRace, and we're in a team together in our own team, Sparks Racing, last season, but now I've joined Redline, both of them. And it's always great to see a family effort racing together.
I had no idea that. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Oh, yeah.
And true as Bob, the commentator's curse strikes, as we say something
it
nice.
Really is the commentator's curse. I mean,
it happens. I like to test the curse in qualifying and say something, and then very often something happens bad. So.
Maybe the game on to bet on the commentator's curse. We can just say things about them. There's no betting in simRace yet.
Yeah, you say yet. Yeah, who knows one day.
A spot and opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good idea. Yeah, so Stephen and Leandre at simRace South Africa, father-son effort, as I've mentioned, that you practice together and you do setups together, of course. And I think it's a fantastic bonding thing to do.
That's pretty cool. What age differences, or how old is Sparks Senior versus Sparks Junior?
I'm not entirely sure, but obviously pretty significant. And, I mean, all ages can race at simRace South Africa. There's no problem whatsoever. And we have, as far as I understand, ages throughout. We had sort of early teenagers joining, and people that are in the 60s racing at simRace South Africa. So,
what about people in their 40s?
40s as well, of course. Throughout.
It's a good meaty sweet spot there.
But sim racing is something that you can always learn about and improve. It doesn't matter how much experience you've got, there's always something to find in yourself. The way you're driving, the way... I find it so interesting. It's almost like art to me. It's the way somebody turns a steering wheel through a corner. Everybody is different. It is unbelievable. Yet they can also achieve the same result. And sometimes not, obviously.
I mean, if you look at any of the telemetry apps, and you measure yourself up. Oh, is that hands off there a bit?
Looks like we did have an excursion there, yes.
Telemetry apps, you'll look at it, and the most minute differences make all the difference. If you take me versus Bash, that's a very different thing. But you know, you look at it, some guys are flat through places where you would think it's impossible to be flat, and some people are on the brakes slightly harder or slightly more subtly. And maybe we could talk about what it takes to drive one of these cars versus a GT car. Yeah, you brake differently in this type of thing. You trail brake into a corner in a very different way. And some people don't understand the intricacies of driving one of these versus what is essentially a very souped up road car.
Yes, absolutely. Because I'm in the team RSA Protea Sim Sports, and we've got a driver in our team, Lance Garasino, and he's a race winner of the 250cc supercar at the Southcops Raceway. And we will start practicing together, and he, within sort of 5-6 laps, he's on the pace straight away. Unbelievable. Yet I take sort of 50 laps to get there. And what I need to do is go into Motec with a telemetry system and overlay my inputs, my pedal, my steering, whatever you, over his, and see what I'm doing differently. And that is the only way I find that I can learn to do it.
Yes.
But some people have a natural ability to do this, and some people take a bit longer to get on top of it. Yeah.
And so, I mean, there's a couple of things there. The first thing is, it doesn't matter if you, even if you know you should be braking slightly later or slightly earlier or less hard or putting more or less steering input. You can look at that telemetry all day, every day, but you still get the Grand Prix. You still won't do it. It's like coordination. And that applies here. a great extent.
Yeah. The biggest difference between these cars and the GT3 cars, of course, is downforce, and they trust that car is going to go around the corner at that speed. You often find yourself that you can't sort of conceive how quick the car is going to get around the corner. Like, this car is not that fast, but it is that fast. It's probably actually faster. With a GT3 car, it takes a bit more finesse to get to the corner.
Yeah, I mean, you can really chuck these things in and you just know they're going to stick. The faster the better, almost.
Absolutely. And Leandro Sparks, in fact, is commenting in the YouTube live chat, and he says he is 25 years old and his dad is 69.
Cheap, it's creepy.
Quite a serious age difference there.
And what kit do you use, if I may ask? What because that was my next comment. You know, I was doing the race with Bash last year. The Fanatec steering wheel broke, and I was immediately 1.5 seconds off the pace. I had to swap it off for a G920. Couldn't feel the car. Couldn't work out what was going on. Couldn't feel the understeer, and that made a difference. So the question is, hey, what do they use? And do people really understand how much of a difference that stuff makes? And that is a major barrier to entry for anybody who wants to get into this type of game. It's not like you go play tennis and you go have coordination. You can hit the ball, or you play cricket and you can bowl, and the ball's a ball almost. You know, nice cricket bat makes a difference, but it doesn't make a world of difference.
Well, at SimRace, we have the Logitech G25, 27, 29, G920s, right? And we have Thrustmasters, T300, 500, and then of course your Fanatec, your CSL Elite, your Club Sport type. So right through the range, even to direct drive wheels, some of the drivers have. So that's obviously your pucker equipment, your top of the line. I'm a firm believer that a wheel doesn't necessarily make you faster. It may make you more consistent, okay? But I think what people don't understand the most is how to set the wheel up, how to set up your force feedback, how to set up the pedals. One thing with the pedals that makes a big difference, I feel, is your load cell. You've got your load cell and your potentiometer. So potentiometer measures distance traveled by your pedal, and your load cell, of course, is pressure. And now the human brain works better with pressure for consistency, better than travel. So yes, that with your brake, because braking is extremely important. It's more important than people realize in racing. The later you can brake with the least amount of effort, it will make you a lot quicker. As I said, there's a saying, to be fast first you need to know how to brake. So yes, but from a wheels perspective, I went from a G27 for 5 years or so. For the last year, I've used a CSR Elite Fanatec, and I haven't gotten faster. More consistent, yes, but ultimate pace, it's not completely different. That's my personal experience.
The consistency is the key, though, to me. You know, I get the guys coming in here, and they can do 50 laps, and 2 of them will be faster than the rest, and they're in the wall. And you know, I say to the guys, look, what you want to do is be within a 10th or 2/10 every single lap. If you're setting hot laps and you're not racing anybody, it's you, a track. You probably turned off all the tire wear and fuel consumption, all those things. But to keep it consistent, that's the first thing. Yeah. Otherwise, you just don't know what you're dealing with.
When I talk about consistency, I'm saying marginal increase. Yes, it will make a bit of a difference, yes. But it won't give you 2 seconds a lap or keep your consistency within 0.2 of a second per lap. But yes, there is an increase. I mean, for example, we've got a driver at SimRace South Africa, Jim Clark. I'm just reading the YouTube live chat now, it reminds me now. Jim Clark is an extremely fast driver, and he uses a G25 that is slightly broken, basically, and he's incredibly fast. So
he's not racing today.
He's not racing today. No, he does not compete in the GP series. No.
Okay, I see.
So, yeah, and yes,
I,
We've got Basheer Jadwat just pointing out how well Lawrence Stern is doing. So
I'm going to hand
fourth
over to
position.
Basheer for a second. He's being modest, but he's the man. I'm going to hand it over to him for a second.
Welcome Basheer to the commentary. He's literally sitting next to me. I can't believe it. The last time we chatted, we were about 11,000 kilometers between us.
Look at that. What a move from Stone.
So here comes Stenner. He's challenging Oliphant for third position. He's got him around the outside into Beckett's. So what a great move that is.
Awesome stuff.
And Oliphant just battling the dirty air there, trying to get back on terms with Sterner. But Sterner's away in third, and he's pulling away. And he will now try and set off towards Hodgson.
Some good battles tonight. I've been watching them on the big screen here.
Yeah, and your man Timothy Haynes seems to have this in the bag for the moment.
For the moment,
let's start putting a curse on him.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed, yeah, hopefully he has a clean run. It was a pity there was contact with Nick Hodgson there. I think he was running very close up until that point.
Absolutely. And everybody's still. Here comes
Oliphant passes again.
So great move there. Just Oliphant just catching Sterner unawares under braking. Into turn 4. So great battle this as well. It's gone board with Sterner.
Easing on the throttle, otherwise the back end tends to step on.
And you have to be so gentle out there, hey Bash, you know all about it. You were second in hot lap division qualifying throughout the weekend.
Yeah, this car's quite twitchy, so you have to take care with it with the gas. A lot more forgiving though than the F2 car from last year, but still not easy.
Yeah, everybody seems to have a different opinion of that. Some people say no, this car is more forgiving than the Formula 2 car. Some people say no, this is more difficult.
And is he in the slip? Is he gonna make a move around the outside?
He's gonna go for a move around Stone. Around the outside goes Stern. He's got him.
What a move! Sure.
Wow, Stern is on fire this evening.
Fire on fire.
Is this what we can see in future as well from Sterner? It's really showing us how it's done this evening. So Sterner on way for a possible podium result.
Is this his first race?
This is, it could be his first GP race, yes, I think so. So clearly a talent in the GP series to watch out for.
Yep.
And, but Stern is a good minute behind Hodgson, unfortunately.
Yeah. But he's opened up the gap to Oliphant quite quickly.
So Oliphant perhaps struggling with tyre wear at this stage.
He may have some damage or something, but yeah, he looks a bit off pace from what he's shown in LCQ or HLQ.
But for me, Hodgson has been a big surprise this evening.
Very, very big, yeah. I don't think any of us saw him coming.
He wasn't really on pace throughout the weekend, and suddenly he just came forward. And yeah, it was pole position, of course. And yeah, so just 35 seconds behind Haynes.
Yeah. And his race pace is very good. If you look at it, he's closing in on Haynes now.
Yeah, that gap's down to 35 seconds already, so 5 seconds in 2 laps.
In 2 laps, yeah, it's solid. Oh, a little bit of a slide there from Oliphant. Yeah, I think you're right, he's struggling with his tires.
And someone who's come up through the field is Rudy Marais in 5th position. For Valente Racing, doing well.
he's just 2 seconds, 3 seconds behind Oliphant. So it's going to be the next battle to watch.
So Besh, tell us how you prepare for a race. What is sort of your way you do things, getting ready for a race, and is there anything specific you do? Or...
No, I just tend to do as much practice as time allows.
Okay.
And when I do,
because a lot of people are the impression that you do 10 laps and you're suddenly on the pace. And
no, that's not the way. I think I do quite a bit of practice before I get there, but I am able to do get the most out of a tune quite quickly, so that saves me quite a bit of time. Then yeah, if I'm doing a race, then the weekend before I tend to concentrate only on race pace, just so that I have an idea what the car will do. That's not what I've done this season, but that's what I should do. Yeah, but I don't really have a set routine or anything. It's just doing as much prep as I can.
And tell us, how do you sort of adjust the setup as you go? Do you take big steps first, or do you take small steps and see how the car reacts before you go further?
Yeah, I do very small steps, but what I tend to do most of the time is use the tune from the previous race as a base. If it doesn't work, obviously you try default first and see what you get. If your tune from the previous race works and gives you a better time, then I tend to use that as my base and just work from there, making small tweaks. Generally, the main tweaks that you would do is probably aero and the suspension setup. The rest more or less remains constant throughout, especially gearing. I think most of the tracks this season are quite similar in nature, so gearing, you may fine tune your 6th gear, but the rest of it you can keep as is. But yeah, I tend to use an evolutionary tune from race 1 and work on it from there. I don't start from scratch very often. And yeah, the entire team puts work together, so Tim, Gabriel, Marcus, Chris, we all put in time and give our opinions on the setup, and yeah, we just work from each other's strengths and weaknesses, and each person has a different driving style, so the end fine-tuning may be slightly different, but our base is more or less.
Yeah, tell us about the team dynamic at Ghostworks. I mean, is someone that's specifically good at setup, perhaps, that imparts more knowledge about the setup than perhaps others, or is it sort of just a big team effort?
Everyone's really experienced and able to contribute positively in every way. I mean, Gabriel, in terms of fine tuning, is a master.
Gabriel's shaking his head, but he knows very well what he can do with the car.
Tim, he's relatively new to our team, but I mean, he's an invaluable member as it is. He's also pretty good at getting a base setup done and, yeah, working from there. Chris and Mark also, they all contribute. Everyone in our team contributes something to the setup. And, yeah, we don't have a team order or team structure as such, so we try to do the best we can as Ghostworks.
So it's quite a flat structure.
Yeah, it's a
everybody
flat
just chips in and you come up with a...
We've got, we share our setup and tweak and do what we can online using TeamSpeak or Discord.
So does the team come up with one setup and you all use it, or do you use variations of that setup?
I think we start with one setup that most of the guys use, but then obviously it depends on who has time. So the people who are online tend to work on the setup, then we'll share that setup, and the people who have less time maybe will pick up from our setup, and when they are on, they'd make the tunes here, there, and changes, and let us know what it is. So we have versions of our tune, and we try them all, we try everything.
And that's what it's all about, really trying as much as you can, and just being creative.
Some things you would never think to work, and they do work. So you got to think outside the box sometimes with regards to setup. But yeah, it's just putting in the laps. I mean, laps make the most difference, and you can use your default setup and pretty much get to the time you can on your tune setup if you have enough laps in. So yeah, it's all about the laps basically.
Yeah. And Diaz Avero's had a spin, unfortunately, as he gets back up to speed, spinning up the rear tyres. But off he goes. He's dropped down to 6th position. Oliphant taking their 5th away from him. Or was that Diaz Avero really giving it to him, really? Giving it away.
Rudy Murray up to 4th. Wow, well done to him.
Murray is having a fantastic race this evening for Valente Racing.
Valente.
Valente, an exciting team that's joined the season, or this season, and growing all the time, and doing a lot of other competitions as well.
Mm-hmm.
Got Matthew Boy in the pits now from 9th position for Synergy Racing.
I see Quaid Clausen's back into the race. That's very nice to see. Not giving up, just doing the laps. And he's going to get a relatively good position considering how far down he is.
Yeah. Of course, it's always good to finish a race and to finish a Division 1 race, because you have quite a rich supply of points in this division.
Yeah. And there's always a chance you may get into the top 7 positions for the GT3 qualifiers.
Yes, of course. So we run a progression system at SimRace South Africa, and everybody needs to earn a grid slot on the Division 1 grid for the South African Sim GD series for each round, and there are 2 qualifying rounds before each GT race, and the drivers need to achieve a top 7 results to earn a slot, and then we have a last chance qualifier just before their GT race for the drivers to have one last go at it to earn a grid slot. And there is a hot lap competition throughout a weekend to fill up the grid for the following Monday evening. Oh, Timothy has had a spin, in fact, so Hodgson will be gaining all the time. But Timothy now rejoins safely. Okay, he's now 31 seconds, so he's nowhere near him, unfortunately.
I'm sure it'll come down.
And Bash, just talking about the cars that we're using this season, sometimes I feel that the difference between the cars is a bit too great, or do you enjoy the variety that we have this season?
You mean between the different
between
classes?
The GT car and the V8 series and the GT3 car?
But it's always nice to have a bit of variety.
Yeah.
I mean, the season we had the GT3 Sprint and the Enduro, I think it was a bit too much of GT3, so it's nice to have a bit of variety. Yeah, these GP cars are really something that take a lot of.
And Hodgson is
entering the pits. He's lost it there.
He's got it all wrong. As race leader Haynes is also into the pits now, and is Sterner profiting from this. He's still over a minute behind, unfortunately.
Both of them putting at the same time, so let's see how the pit stops go.
Look at Doug in as well for Black Widow Racing, and he's left his pit box.
And Haynes is out already, so yeah, it doesn't look like Hodgson will be able to make up any time there. That spin not helping.
Sterner's coming through Stowe now. I think he's actually going to pass Hodgson, but Sterner might have to stop again. Have to see what happens later on in the race. But we are on lap 38 of 55, so not a lot of time left.
Hodgson's back out.
Hodgson's well ahead.
Hodgson's made up a lot of time there, 25 seconds, so Tim must have made a mistake somewhere.
Yeah, so we might still have a race for victory this evening.
Yeah, it's not all over yet. Still enough time to close up, I think.
Unfortunately, a race where the cars haven't been really close together, but I think Silverstone does lend itself to that, unfortunately.
There's always a field spread in Silverstone, I think.
So the fast corners as well produce a lot more dirty air for the car behind,
Yes.
and then you'll have increased tyre with the car behind as well.
Especially to the section of Beckett's, Chapel and Maggots.
So Haynes now seems to have got back up to speed now. That gap has stabilized. 25 seconds. Look at Rudy Moreno in 5th position, of course. Doing a great job.
Nick Hodgson seems to have a lot of roll on his car, so he must be running the suspension very softly. If you look at the car, the way it rolls into corners, either running a very soft anti-roll or soft spring rate.
Of course, these cars have a whole range of settings you can change. I had a look in the setup menu. There's things called heave and whatnot that I hadn't actually seen before.
Yeah, there's quite a few settings that I've never heard of before. Don't know what they do, so yeah, I just tend to leave those as default.
We've got Lawrence Sterner now in from 3rd position. He does his pit stop now. And he's of course fighting Leslie Oliphant in 4th position, but Oliphant is a good minute behind, so he should rejoin comfortably ahead of him.
Oh, did he make it into his box?
I think he just stopped in time.
That was tight.
That's quite something, being at high speed around the circuit and you try and stop the car on your marks. It's very difficult to do, in fact.
Very difficult.
Especially, in fact, in VR, as you use, it must be even more difficult, I would suspect.
It's actually a bit easier with VR, I think, because you can see the box a bit more clearly. So, yeah, it seems a bit easier for me in VR.
True, I suppose your depth of perception is better as well.
Correct.
Perception, depth, yeah. Diaz Aveda 9 from 6th position. Also someone who's impressing this evening.
Yeah, he's shown good pace in practice. I know he was in the same server as me. Done very well. Put in a lot of effort as well, so it's good to see.
So Oliphant is in fact past Turner for 3rd position. After Turner, came to the pits.
But I think he's still got a pit stop to probably.
Looking into the start of the Formula 1 season, who are you rooting for?
Yes, looking forward to it. Can't wait for this.
Too much of a drought, eh?
Yeah. Been too long. I think it's going to be a crack of a season with the young guns in the big team. So yeah, it's one to look forward to, I think.
And are you a supporter of a specific team? Or?
I'm a Ferrari supporter.
You're a Ferrari man.
Yeah, a very big Ferrari supporter. I know you're a Mercedes supporter.
Yes and no. My heart is Ferrari. My head is Mercedes. It's quite a thing for me to watch the race and decide what I want to happen. So it can be confusing. Listen.
I see you say that Haynes has got the gap to Hodgson quite stable now, so I think he's had his mistakes, taking it a bit easier now, not pushing too hard, just keeping it clean.
So this is the part of the race where the drivers start getting tired. They've done 42 laps of 55. They're just trying to keep themselves awake and aware of what's going on with the car.
Trying not to doze off.
And I have a problem when I race is that I don't breathe. I'm focusing so hard on what's going on, and my teammates will tell you that suddenly you hear Jason, he was quiet, and suddenly he starts breathing like heavily because he needs to take up some oxygen and whatnot. And as in real world racing, you have your breathing techniques that the drivers use, and those can be used in sim racing as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating all the crossovers happening. And I read recently, or this last weekend, there was a meeting with the FIA to do with sim racing, and they've started up a digital department, and looks like they're going to they're going to work on developing sim racing throughout the world. And I'm very interested to see what comes of that.
Looking forward to what comes of that, yeah.
And and we've got in Germany now, sim racing is now considered like a sort of an official sport and entry level to real world racing. It will be seen like that from next year, I believe. So it's very interesting, all these developments happening. And Nick Hodgson's clawed back at Haynes ever so slightly, only half a second unfortunately for us, but it is something.
He's running good pace. I mean, look, he's up on his delta, so he's still pushing.
Yeah.
And we know with these cars, anything can happen. It's not over until it's over.
We got a request from YouTube Live chat, Zander Klengen. Can we have some footage of Raymond Duggan? Duggan doing a great job for Black Widow in 7th position. It's quite a position for Black Widow.
Very distinctive livery on this car.
And that car very twitchy through Stowe, moving around quite a bit. So we can see how Raymond navigates the circuit. That's Duggan very smooth. it seems. And that's why he's where he is, in 7th position, starting from further back. Steven Sparks now in 10th position. He is in the pits. And we've got just 11 laps remaining now. I suppose it is fitting that Timothy Haynes leading the way. Goes to X back by ATK, of course. Live streaming from ATK. And now the owner of ATK joining me now in commentary as well.
Yes, I'm back.
Welcome back, Warren.
And we're in the front. I'm very pleased.
Absolutely. That's gone well.
And I'm glad we stayed open because we generally closed on a Monday. So we opened just for you because you're very, very special.
When I had a look on the website, it said closed Monday. I was like, but you very kindly offered to open up for us. So thank you very much. That's fantastic.
It's my pleasure. But they haven't offered you pizza yet, I'm told.
Yeah.
They're awfully rude, these ladies that work with us. We'll have a word with them tomorrow. We have a fine system. It involves burpees and tequila and hot wings.
I think I better come back.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so a comfortable lead by Hans. Has he dropped with pace? Is he? The time's looking like he's 1.3 off his delta, with his best.
Yeah, I think this is.
He's just kind of.
Yeah, I think Timothy's just sort of backed off a bit. He's sort of running 1 to 1.5 seconds a lap slower than what he can do, I think. And he's just managing the gap back to Hodgson. Is what I'm guessing what he's doing, and that would make sense as well. No reason to push hard at this stage. We've got 9 laps remaining, and just bring it home for victory.
Bring it home for victory.
But of course, when I'm in this situation, if I'm in the front, I tend to please don't make a mistake, and it sort of tense up, and because they're so close towards the end, it's yours to throw away.
And then you cock it up, or you hold your breath. I heard you saying you hold your breath. I do that too.
Yeah.
And it's in the gang. Why am I feeling so faint? Why is the world spinning?
Yeah.
I do that. Even in any game almost, I end up holding my breath. What about you, Basheer? You don't hold your breath. He's cool as a cucumber, this boy. Claremont, Cape Town, at the heart of the southern suburbs, next to Stadium of Man. It used to be called the Atrium in the old days. We are in the parking lot. You can't miss us as you drive up. It's it's a big old space. It used to be a club. It used to be a nightclub called Affinity, and after that it was called Unique. We took it over when it was still a club. I mean, we came in here after many evenings of poor decisions and all sorts of things that had happened in here, and we're like, okay, we're going to turn this into an amazing gaming space. No more sins here.
A place of good decisions.
Place of correct decisions.
Good choices.
Just the best. Absolutely. Well, sometimes I see these chaps sit here for 18 hours at a time, which is we do these 18-hour lands, and I sometimes think that's potentially a bad decision.
But on the flip side, you do have access to a gym, don't you?
We have access to a gym that's above us. We've got Hudson's that brings us the best food. We have a coffee bar, we have a green screen, we have sim racing, we have ridiculous machines that you would never buy for yourself, or most of the people wouldn't. So, yeah, it's good decisions. Nice place to be. We've got a nice lounge as well. Surprisingly, not a lot of people use the gym. We have to drag them. The kids are very keen generally. We do kids parties. We take them up there. Kids go up to the gym, and then the parents sit and do some racing a little bit. We put all the assists on and put them in a road car, and then they have a great old time.
So we haven't had much movement at the front. Haynes still leading Hodgson by 24 seconds or so. Just 6 laps remaining. Haynes just looking to bring it home before Ghost works. And Timothy Haynes now will be looking to draw equal on points with Gabriel Rousseau in the championship. So hopefully Gabriel will respond during round 3. Of course, we do have a drop round for the season, so the drivers, the worst result of the season falls away to calculate the final point standings. So this being round 2 only, the best result of the 2 races, of course, counts. And Gabriel having won round 1 at Monza. He's currently leading the way. Someone's off in the background. Who was that? That is Scarpina. The Synergy car just have it going quick excursion there, but he does rejoin safely in 8th position. Corner Bread, who we haven't seen much of this evening. The number 3 car currently in 13th position, and he was a bit quicker during round 1, so lost a bit of pace for this round. But I'm sure we'll see him quicker for round 3.
What is the remaining calendar looking like? We were talking about it briefly earlier. Where are we going next?
Okay, then the next race for the GP series will be at Mugello. Quite an interesting circuit. Fast flowing. And that'll be on the 8th of April for the GP series. But our next race will be, next week. And that will be round 2 of the GD series at Brands Hatch.
Mugello is owned by Ferrari, isn't it? It was owned by, what is still is owned by Ferrari. It's a Ferrari test track, isn't it? Mugello.
I think they do some testing there. It's Fiorano is the test circuit.
Yeah, they own that one.
Yeah.
There's something that the Ferrari owns something in Mugello. I'm telling you, there's some tie-up. You see now, I can see
he stumped us.
I'm going to use the Google machine.
Do it. Unfortunately, that Oliphant Sterner battle is diffused, and Sterner's a good minute and 10 behind him. So, don't think we'll see a challenge from Sterner for the final step of the podium. And unfortunately, that incident at the start of the race sort of just broke up the field a bit too much.
Okay, just to confirm, in the Google machine it says I am correct.
Oh, wow.
And I know more than Basheer. Officially. Officially, I've beaten Basheer at something in motorsport related.
Wow.
It is owned by Ferrari, and they use it as brick. So there you go. So thank you.
Great.
Achievement for the day.
Okay, we are schooled.
Yeah.
So it's only downhill from now.
So Tim, am I right in saying that this is his first race, his first win, maiden win, is it?
Yeah, it was his maiden win for Goes to X. And interesting rivalry with his brother Daniel. He's not racing this evening, but they were in a team last season and got very competitive. I think a bit too competitive, and now they're split into separate teams. So Daniel's gone to Volante, and Timothy's gone to Goes to X.
Okay,
So,
that's
yeah,
there was awkward briars on the Sunday or what?
probably. I'm guessing. As I look at his teammates, I'm sure they know more
You
than
know
I
what
do.
happens with the Sparks family as well, but they're on the same team, the Sparks
Oh,
family.
yeah,
aren't they?
that's where the difference is.
Okay. So Hans is coming up to lap somebody. Let's see if this guy also goes into the millies, unlike I did to young Dash a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
I still owe him something. What do I owe you? I said I'll buy you a cooler. I haven't delivered yet, but I will.
And Danny Lopes in the YouTube live chat just saying, first time hearing or even seeing ATK. Must say, what an epic idea. Please bring it to JHB.
I am bringing it to JHB.
Ooh.
That's thank you. I queued like brilliantly there. We are coming to JHB. I'm in fact there in 2 weeks' time. We've been there. We've been scouting around. We've been looking around for a proper venue where we can put this type of kit and make it accessible to everybody. Yeah, it's not only JHB. There's a couple of places that we're looking at. JHB's kind of next. We're very excited. I mean, the support has been good, great, and even. I mean, we are generally ridiculously packed. We have to choose a day where we have to close so that we can do our maintenance. I mean, running machines like this, you have to do maintenance. So yeah, Joburg incoming. We've got 3 laps to go. Hell yes, ATK. Yes, that's very good. It's yeah. I mean, it's exciting. I mean, it's nice to see people getting a chance to try different things, especially sim racing. You know, we'll get our VR set up again. But when people walk in here and their jaws drop, because you just don't generally see this type of machinery anywhere, and we've kind of gone over the top. It's pretty cool to see, like, people actually really appreciate it. It's nice to see it. Yeah, you get professional guys in leagues locally. They'll come here and play their games. Our internet's good, machines are good, so it's great to see. And we support the local teams. I mean, here's Ghostworks, they're doing well. Our Overwatch team is doing ridiculously well, and we've got other teams coming, so yeah, we're delivering, I hope.
Absolutely.
Can we do some shameless plugging, self promotion here? We are going to, off the back of every Grand Prix, we're going to do some hot lap competitions where people can come in here and show what they got. So if you don't have sim racing equipment, you can pop in and set the fastest lap possible on the race track for the weekend. as well as for the Intercontinental GT. We're going to do some races off the back of that. Of course, there's an endurance event coming in November to SA, coming to Kalami, and there's some GT cars, big name GT cars. Lamborghini, I think, have officially now entered two teams, BMWs in, Audis in, Bentleys in, Ferrari, Porsche. You know, this is proper stuff. And we'll be doing some esports events around that. So, and you'll be able to use our kit. So you don't need to go and drop all the money on this type of thing. You can come and give it a go. How old is Tim now, Bash? How old is Tim? Is he? Yeah. Don't know. Late 20s. Okay. Based here? Where's he based? Somerset West. Okay. So we'll get him down here. I mean, this is a big deal. It's his first win. He's going to be pretty happy. I know you've done chats and you get them onto Discord or wherever it is, and you have a post-race interview. Is that something you're going to look to do now? Is it something that's organised? Or?
We haven't organised it this evening, but certainly in future races we want to be doing that and exposing the teams more on the stream. And that's something.
There's some good names on the side of some of the cars. I've seen Logitech and a couple of the guys. So obviously people are paying attention. People are seeing the value in esports.
Yeah, I try and encourage the teams also to approach local business to get the names on the side of the cars. Yeah, they seem to respond well as well.
Yeah.
Why not? And yeah, it's fantastic.
I suppose the next thing we need to do is hold a live race here one day. Get everybody racing and bashing into each other and doing their thing.
Timothy has started the final lap of the race. Just looking to bring it home now. And perhaps the nerves creeping in now.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a comment here. Maybe we'll address it afterwards. I mean, yeah. Tim Hans has made a good job of it, and he's on his way to his maiden. I mean, where's he on now? He's coming down Brooklands, is he?
Yeah, on the way to Stowe.
Stowe. Is he?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I'll just wrap it up. So Timothy Haynes now approaches the final corners now to take his maiden victory in the GP series and his maiden victory for Ghostworks, and I've got a feeling that won't be the last one either, the first of many. So Timothy Haynes takes victory. Congratulations to him and the team. As I look at his teammates.
Well done, boys. Well done, ATK.
There we go. And Nick Hodgson now in second. Oh, a bit of a wobble there, but he's got a good goal. Where's Legend Oliphant? No, it's not close enough, is he? He hasn't rejoined yet, has he? So
this is exactly what you were talking about.
Exactly. It's a thing.
It really is a thing.
So
We've all done it, I think.
Hodgson will bring it in now. And here comes the Oliphant. He will secure the final step of the podium, and he's secured RPM car, half fitting. And a good minute behind. Oh, he's running out of fuel, is he? Sounds like it. Oh, he's running out of fuel. Is he going to get to the end? Is he running out of fuel? I think he is. He's just taking the mickey out of me.
He's on half throttle.
He's limping home. Where's Stoner? Stoner is not close enough, I don't think. I think Oliphant's just going to get across. Yes, he's just going to make it. Wow, so close. Wow, Stoner across the line. Behind him. What, 4 seconds behind him. So it is Haynes, Hodgson, Oliphant on the podium. Stern in 4th position. Murray will get 5th. A minute and a half down. And Diaz Avedo completes, will get 6th position. And the rest of the field is a lap or more down. And there we go.
Okay, well, I'm going to answer a question that was put up here. Let me just read it again here. So, TX3, no value in esports when there's no prize pools. So good luck getting sponsors. Look, we often get these people coming in here. We get people who want to come in. In fact, last week I had somebody come in here at 10 o'clock in the morning to tell me all about how I shouldn't have bothered doing this. And this was all a massive waste of time. I sat and listened to this person going, there are not enough people. Esports is so small in South Africa. Why are you wasting your time on this? You should have put it somewhere else. Like, well, where? You know, I love that people come to me with all my, advice on running a business, but clearly they haven't probably thought it through. It's like saying to somebody in the old days when bans got lifted and suddenly you could play cricket on the international stage. It's like saying, well, you shouldn't go play cricket. There's no money in it yet. Well, there will be. I mean, there is everywhere else in the world. So why wouldn't you? I mean, we have the benefit of hindsight sitting here. Look at Tim Hans. He's just taken his first victory. He's got talent. Maybe there's a younger guy out there, and people see that there's a conversion of this talent where it translates directly into racing cars. We've got Lando Norris, for example. He sim races the hell out of things, and he races for McLaren. You have somebody help me out here. There was a guy that won the Race of Champions. Bame, he beat one of the guys. Who was it? From Buren. Sim racer. Now, people watch that, and the sponsors want to get involved. This is a big community, and it's fledgling in this country. They'll get behind it. There's absolutely no shortage of sponsors who want to get behind this thing. So, prize pools. Prize pools are only one thing. I mean, Gareth Woods, in fact, released something. I think it was today, and he recorded it last week about how much of a difference a prize pool makes, and it does make some difference. But the sponsors realize there's value in esports. There's certainly value in sim racing. We have a very good chance of taking a person here and putting him into a race car. That is 100% a thing. You look at WSG that's happening. It's a massive event. People are making. China's just defined various channels of esports as careers, or they've defined it as an actual thing. For lack of better words, but people need to realize that there will be skeptics, but the sponsors also realize that there's a massive opportunity here. These things will go from strength to strength. I mean, it's 20 years in the making in South Korea, for example, where this has essentially been a national sport. So, thanks for the input, but we'll carry on.
Well, for me, Jason Holden-Jones, has been an absolute pleasure, and a big thanks to Warren at ATK for all the help this evening.
My pleasure.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and I must say I picked my jaw off the floor when I walked in here with all the equipment, and I was expecting something amazing, but it was incredible having a look around here, and it's been an absolute pleasure. So from me, Jason Holden-Jones and Warren Barkhuizen, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, and thanks very much for having me and stopping by, and we look forward to many years of this.